We love our gadgets, right? Our smartwatches, our phones, our fitness trackers, they just make life easier. But there's a weird paradox going on here. The more we use this amazing tech, the more it learns about us. So today, we are going to pull back the curtain and take a look at the secret life of your data.
I mean, really think about it. It knows your heart rate, how you sleep, where you go for a run, maybe even your age and weight. And you give it all that info for a pretty good reason, right? To get healthier? But is that the only thing your data is being used for? To really get our heads around this, let's follow the journey of our data inside a fictional company. We'll call it ch4. Just imagine they're the ones who made that fitness tracker on your wrist. Their story is, well, it's a perfect example of the privacy challenges we're all navigating in this digital world.
So where does this whole story really begin? It starts the second you strap on that new device. But how does that data actually get from your wrist to, well, somewhere else entirely?
Okay, so it all starts out pretty innocently. You buy a ch4 tracker, you give it permission to collect your health stats and your location data. In return, you get all these cool personalized insights and recommendations. Seems like a fair trade, right? You get a service, they get the data they need to provide it. Yeah, but here's the catch. That fair trade, it has a hidden clause. The data you shared for your fitness goals is super valuable for a whole bunch of other reasons. This is what we call repurposing. And it's the exact moment your data starts living this second, secret life that you probably never even knew about.
And check out who's interested in this data. This table breaks it down perfectly. Businesses? They might buy that data to hit you with targeted ads for, say, running shoes or health insurance. Researchers could use it to study big public health trends. And yeah, even government agencies might use it for policymaking or security. The thing is, none of these were the reason you shared your data in the first place.
This quote it absolutely hits the nail on the head. If there aren't clear, strict rules built in from the get-go, your data basically becomes a free agent, up for grabs for things you never ever imagined. So with all this valuable data getting collected and passed around, the risks, they just skyrocket. Let's follow our ch4 story to its logical and pretty dangerous conclusion: a full-blown data breach.
Now, the thing that really sets the stage for a breach is something called information processing. This isn't just about storing data. It's about actively combining it or aggregating it. Think of it like this. They take your fitness data, then they mix it with your public social media profiles, maybe your online shopping habits. Suddenly, they've created this incredibly rich and way more vulnerable treasure trove all about you.
And then bam, the inevitable happens. A group of hackers finds a weak spot, a vulnerability in ch4's cloud systems. They break in, and just like that, all of that sensitive combined user data is out there for the world to see.
So what went wrong here exactly? Well, it's really a two-part failure. You've got the threat source, that was the hacker group, the adversary, but they could only get in because of a vulnerability. And that weakness could be anything from a flaw in the software code to something totally human, like an employee falling for a phishing email.
And this shows that vulnerabilities aren't just about bad code. You can see here they can be technical, for sure, but they can also be about human resources, not enough training. They can be baked right into a company's policy and procedure, or even exist in the dataset itself if it isn't properly anonymized.
Now, this all might seem super chaotic, but there's actually a really structured system that the pros use to analyze and score all these digital dangers.
It all starts right here, with the National Vulnerability Database, or NVD. The best way to think about this is like a massive public library of every known flaw in software and hardware. A new weakness gets discovered anywhere in the world, it gets cataloged right here.
But, just having a huge list isn't enough. We need to know which flaws are just minor annoyances and which ones are basically digital time bombs. And that's where the Common Vulnerability Scoring System, or CVSS, comes in. It's a standard way to give every single vulnerability a score based on how serious it is.
So what actually goes into that score? Well, it boils down to answering three key questions. First, exploitability. How easy is it for a hacker to actually use this weakness? Second, impact. If they do, how bad is the damage going to be? And third, scope. Can this one little flaw end up compromising the entire system?
Based on all that, you get a score from 0 to 10. A score like 9.1, that gets labeled critical. This is the kind of vulnerability that sends cybersecurity teams scrambling because it's pretty easy to exploit and can cause just catastrophic damage.
And to bring it all back to our story, that flaw at ch4, it was a textbook case of a high CVSS score. It was a known, severe risk that the company just
failed to manage. And that failure led directly to the breach that exposed all their users' private data.
So after following the whole TechCorp saga, from simple data collection all the way to a critical data breach, the last big question is, what does all this mean for you and me?
Okay, so what are the big takeaways here? First, your data is way more valuable than you think, and it can be used in ways you never intended. Second, companies are constantly fighting off all kinds of threats and vulnerabilities. Third, there are actual systems in place, like CVSS, to measure these risks. And finally, when a company drops the ball on managing that risk, the consequences are just massive.
Look, at the end of the day, every company that has your data is constantly assessing its own risks. A score is being kept on how safe your personal information is. So the question I want to leave you with is this: who's keeping score for you?